Well, first off, man, how are things with you?
Hey, Jason, things are good. I mean, as you said, we're living the dream. But who would want to be anywhere else? It's just I got a chance this weekend to spend a little time in the field. We took a couple days off in the campaign, and it was just nice to get out. It's just we're just so blessed to live in such a beautiful state.
Oh, it is the best for sure. I love Montana. Before we talk about hunting, let's get the business end of this out of the way, and then we can have some fun. You're running for governor. How's the campaign?
Well, I've been encouraged. This COVID deal certainly changed the rules on us. We haven't been able to do as many face-to-face events, although prior to it, we've done over 200 events all over the state, and people are ready for new leadership. I mean, the reality is with 16 years of Democrats in control, we're 44th in the nation in wages, and I've spent my life creating good paying jobs. And that's my proposition to the people of Montana. It's like, let's get back to work. Let's get our arms around this COVID situation, keeping the most vulnerable safe. But we've got to get our economy open back up, and we've got to adopt a more business-friendly climate so that small businesses can prosper and our kids don't have to leave the state. I'm encouraged, but ultimately this decision will be up to the people of Montana.
There has been a lot of voting turnout already, but there's still a lot of people that probably haven't voted yet. We're a week out from the election. What's your message to those that haven't voted?
Well, first, I'd say you need to have your voice heard. It's important that you do vote. I think it's a pretty clear distinction here in this race. I've spent my life creating good-paying jobs. My running mate, Kristen Juris, is a fourth-generation Montanan. She's got 5 members of her family in the Cowboy Hall of Fame. But she spent 38 years dealing with red tape and bureaucracy. And it's tough enough for a small business owner to find and keep a customer when they got to fight red tape and bureaucrats, too. So my opponent has spent his entire career running for office. He's a career politician. So if you think the issue is our economy and more good-paying jobs, who would you rather have, a career politician or somebody who spent their life creating good-paying jobs?
Representative Greg Gianforte joining us here on the Mike Miller State Farm Hotline. Just a final question or two about the business end of this, but top priority besides the economy as governor, what would it be for you?
Well, I think there shouldn't be any questions. We published our plan. It's available at montanabusinessplan.com. It's just 12 pages. You're right. Number one is jobs and getting the economy going again, getting open back up. But we've also got to get our arms around this meth epidemic. There are too many people that have succumbed to addiction, and this is a priority in the way we do rehabilitation and get people back on their feet. Today we have the second highest number of kids in foster care in the entire country per capita, in large part because of meth. We also don't pay our teachers well. We are the lowest. We have the lowest starting teacher pay in the entire country, 50 out of 50. That's the legacy of 16 years of Democrat control. I think we can do better. And I know that with effective leadership, Montana's best days are ahead.
Greg Gianforte joining us here on the Jason Walker Show. You have an A rating from the NRA. Your opponent, Mike Cooney, a D rating. That's better than his boss's F rating, but not by much. Obviously, the way of life in Montana is very important, and a lot of people want to keep their way of life. How do you propose being able to do that?
Well, I am a life member of the NRA. I'm proud to have an A rating and to be endorsed by them. But Jason, just to be really clear, the Second Amendment is not about hunting. It's about the right to keep and bear arms, honestly, for self-protection and to have an ability to, honestly, our founding fathers put it in place so that we have the power to protect ourselves. Mm. And I think it's very clear. It says that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I don't think there's any ambiguity there. And I will defend all Montanan Second Amendment rights when I'm your next governor.
And this is the final political question. Are we seeing a change across the country? With like yourself, businessman, Donald Trump, a businessman, not career politicians that are making the change into politics because people are just tired of the old school, the old guard politic way.
Well, I don't. I've been a big supporter of term limits. I think this is what our founding fathers intended. They never thought people would make a career out of running for public office, and you know, they really intended that people would, go do their business. They'd be a farmer, they'd be a carpenter, they'd be a business person, and then towards the tail end of their life, they do a swan song in public service. I think that's what our founding fathers intended. And I'll tell you, Jason, my wife and I have been blessed. I mean, we've raised our 4 kids here in the state. We built our business here. We have prospered, and it's always been the American dream that if you work hard, keep your nose to the grindstone, follow the rules, you can get ahead. And yet, as we've piled regulation on top of regulation and tax on top of tax, that has become more and more difficult. And I'm running because we have been blessed. And I would like to see the American dream become more attainable for more folks. And the reality is, as I said, after 16 years of Democrats in control, we're 44th in the nation. We export beef, we export grain, and we export our kids. And I think we can do better than that. And honestly, Montanans deserve better than that.
Representative Greg Gianforte, our guest here, Jason Walker Show, running for governor, and the voting will wrap up on Tuesday. Let's shift gears. It was opening weekend of big game rifle season on Saturday. You took your wife Susan out, and she got an antelope, and looked like she had a lot of fun in the cold.
Well, it was cold, and I put in for antelope too, but I wasn't as lucky as my wife was.
Oh,
We've been married 32 years, so I was just a gun bearer this weekend, and we started at sun up on Saturday. We hunted till sundown, and the snow was coming down horizontally most of the day. Visibility was low. The speed goats were hunkered down in the sagebrush. They were hard to find. We did a couple of sneaks on Saturday, but got busted each time. And then Sunday morning, she sealed the deal. And I was so proud of her. And Jason, again, we've done a lot of things together. We've raised our 4 kids together. We've started 5 businesses together. She's now my finance director on the campaign. We hunt together. She's a true partner in every sense of the word. And she's my trophy.
Oh, I like that's a great answer. After 32 years of marriage, you know how to answer that right.
Yeah.
I have a thing. I tell my wife it's hard to be a trophy husband, but she's actually the trophy. So you might
find yourself up on the wall someplace.
Yeah, exactly. So you did not get antelope, but what did you draw this year?
Well, I came up with a big goose egg this year. My wife was the lucky one. She drew antelope, and get this, she drew bison as well. Wow. So we're gonna hunt. We're gonna hunt that late season down in Gardner. Actually, I get to be gun bearer a second time, and hopefully they'll come out of the park this year. And I'm looking forward to having some bison in the freezer. I did last year. I did draw. I don't want to get people mad at me, but last year I did draw a moose tag, so that'll carry me for a couple of years. That was a sweet hunt down in Beaverhead County. We were down on Horse Prairie, and I was able to tip a decent bull moose over. And my wife was with me on that one too. Again, it was snowing and blowing, and she helped me drag it out. Did the come along, got it onto the flatbed. Used the chain winch to hoist it. She skinned it out with me. She was there all along, and I love that girl.
That is fantastic. What's the difference of a moose hunt compared to like an elk hunt?
Well, the moose, they tend to, habitat-wise, they tend to be in the willow bottoms, and so there's not as much. You can find them up high in the woods, but more likely they're going to be down in the willow bottoms along the creeks. So there's not as much climbing involved. They're not a herd animal, so they're going to be mostly independent. And you got to put your time in looking. I did about 12 years ago, I had another moose tag up in the Spanish Peaks, and that was a hard hunt. My son and I spent 9 days looking before we even saw one.
Wow.
And it was 5 miles back in the wilderness area, and I was in on foot the day I finally got one, and got this thing down, and then realized how big the stinker was. And I'm 5 miles by truck in the wilderness area with this gargantuan animal on the ground, and I got it field dressed, and then I did what any good frontiersman would do. I climbed up to the top of the ridge and pulled out my cell phone and called a buddy. And fortunately, he came in with 3 head of stock, and we were able to get it out that same day. But it was not something I was going to get done by myself.
Oh, definitely. There was a mama moose and a baby moose hanging out at the country club here in Helena all summer long, and there was a teed off on hole 8 one time this summer, and got back to the golf cart and looked back, and mama moose was standing basically on the tee box, and it was like, we should probably get out of here because they're dangerous. Especially the mama moose.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
they're moms.
You got to be careful. I think they're you got to. And this was one of the issues I had with this one, because I'd looked 9 days, hadn't seen a moose. I finally saw this young bull, and I tipped it over, and I'm in the middle of field dressing it. Here comes his twin brother.
Oh,
and he was not happy. And one hand was on the knife, and the other hand was on my rifle, because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah, I bet.
Anyway, it all worked out.
My brother spent 8 years in the Navy and got a hunt on Ted Turner's and got a buffalo. This would have been, 15 years ago, out there by Gallatin Gateway. And we ate on that thing for a couple of years. So hopefully you guys get that bison this year, because to me, it was the best of all the wild game I've had. Bison was the best.
Well, we entertain a lot. And one of the things I did in Washington was we rented an apartment on Capitol Hill, and I've been having members of Congress over every week. I cook for them. I filled the freezer up with moose and venison and elk and duck, and I have different members, both Democrats and Republicans, over for dinner once a week. And it's amazing how much you can get done breaking bread together. And if I'm fortunate enough to be your next governor, I hope to turn the governor's residence into a house of hospitality, where we can, because I think Montanans share way more in common than separates us. And if you can sit across the table, it's a lot easier to find the stuff you agree on than the stuff that separates you. And hunting is one of those things that brings us together.
Greg Gianforte, our guest here. A few final questions, but what do you use for a rifle? I mean, what are we shooting with?
I shoot generally a 300 Win Mag. I have a suppressed 300 Win Mag. I find I'm a convert to suppressors. I found the 300 Win Mag kicks like a mule and would be too much gun for my wife, but she had drawn a cow moose tag a few years back, and 270 really wasn't enough for horsepower for that job. So I suppressed the 300 Win Mag. It like took the kick out of it, and all of a sudden you don't need hearing protection. It's not as dangerous from a noise perspective. So I'm a convert to this suppressed 300 Win Mag.
Nice. I told Senator Daines I have a 6mm, and that's brought down pretty much everything I've ever hunted with, which is, it's a neat little gun, man. I love it. So, okay, we got the hunting, but what's your favorite hunting story?
Oh, I think favorite was really the times I spent with my kids, being in the field. I still remember my son and I hunted a black bear up Highlight Canyon when he had just gotten his license. He was 12. And we spotted this bear when he was 12, and we couldn't get a shot. And we saw it again that spring, and then we didn't get out for it again until the following spring. So he was 13, and he ended up killing this black bear. It was a 6'6" black bear up Highlight Canyon, one of the biggest ones I've ever seen in Montana here. And I wrote that story up. It got published in the American Hunter. So that's a favorite story. My daughter, we used to run a trap line together on the East Gallatin. We trapped mink and beaver and raccoon, and that was just a fun time. Then she turned into a young lady, which I was very thankful for. But she had her years as the tomboy, and I enjoyed that. And she spent a lot of time in the duck blind with me too, which is always fun.
I'm looking forward to following to see if a week from today we have a new leadership. Obviously, we'll no matter what, but whether it'll be a Republican or a Democrat, it's always been fun to chat with you. And one thing I've noticed, and you brought this up, but your Facebook page, when you share photos of the food that you guys are eating, I mean, it's always wild game and it's always amazing looking. Do you cook at all?
Yeah, I'm the chef.
Okay.
My wife she's fantastic. She shops. She does a little food prep. I'm the cook. She cleans up. It's a good partnership. But we generally, if you come to our house, I mean, we did buy some Montana lamb this fall. We've got some Montana beef in the freezer. So I don't want to disadvantage our ranchers out there, but we do put a lot of game meat in the freezer, and that's usually what's on the menu at our house. And on my personal Facebook page, I tend to post pictures of the meals, and if people want to follow me there, they can. I'm out of friend slots. I'm at 5,000. I would welcome more friends, but Facebook won't let me. So, but you can follow my page, Greg R. Gianforte, and you'll occasionally I put up some food pictures. It's completely non-political. It's just a little slice of what's going on in my life. And I love cooking, and nothing better than preparing a meal and spending an evening around the table with friends and new friends to get to know them better. And again, as I said, it's a way, a lot of getting stuff done is about building relationships. And when you can spend a few minutes in somebody else's shoes, it's a lot easier to appreciate the positions they take.
Well, if you're elected, I'll have you over. I make some great ribs on the Traeger, so we'll have the Governor Gianforte over.
That's a deal.
I'm serious too. I'll have you over. I know we got to have Secret Service or your security protection, not Secret Service, but it'll be good. We got dogs. We had a little kid running around. She's great. So.
Hey, perfect. Hey, and I had a lot of fun this last summer. I was the first governor or governor candidate to fish in the Gov Cup walleye competition up in Fort Peck. And I mentioned something to Stan Ozark up on the radio station up there about being the first ever. And he says, no, that's not true. Ted Swindon fished in that tournament. And I said, well, I guess that proves my point then. It's been a long time.
Very long.
Anyway, we had a good time. We ended up, me and my partner, we caught about 26 pounds of walleye over a 2-day period, and we placed in the money. But that doesn't mean that much because we only won $50. But
yeah, right.
We had to split it. It didn't even really pay for the gas, but it was a fun couple of days.
Hey, appreciate the time. I actually do. We took fourth in a pike tournament up at Fort Peck one time. I caught the second big, 37.25 inches. So,
well, that's neat. Have you ever speared them through the ice?
I have not. I'm not an ice. I can't go out on ice. It scares me.
Oh, yeah. I haven't done it, but I was talking to a guy over the weekend. And it sounded like quite an adventure.
No doubt
just
about
it. Looking in an aquarium and be kind of fun to try.
For sure. Representative Greg Gianforte, appreciate your time. I know you got to run, but we'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, Jason.